5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Well, it all happened. Now, just bear me a second because, as you can tell, I wasn't ready for this. So...
Me neither, Chris. I had to get here in 5 minutes, but we're here. We're here.
Let me just make you bigger, young man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
We're back to the show from earlier, aren't we then?
I didn't know you were a full-time fluffer, Chris. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to put you out while I bring you in. Won't be a second. Bear with us, guys. It's all going a little bit different. Hopefully. There we go. It's a decent size.
Thank you very much. I still do my post about it, mate, trying to get it out there so I can get, people aware of it. I'm so behind. What have we done?
Well, I wasn't expecting it, I have to say. And welcome along, Gray. How are you doing? It's been a while. He's just joined us from the final whistle. I think every Leicester fan channel that's worth its money is actually going to be doing this tonight. If anybody wants to jump on, by the way, I've put the link in the chat. You can click that and come on and have a quick couple of minutes on and tell us what you think about this. But that's it. Thank you for joining us, Gray. Highfields is in. Good evening, Highfields. How are you? Look, we did a show earlier, didn't we, Tom? When we were having a little bit of fun with. I'm good, thank you, Gray. Good. And we did a show at lunchtime, which was sort of. How excited are we about all the names that were being linked with us? Not who we wanted, but who we were most excited about. Yeah. And then I said, it will be announced today because I am going out. And I went out at 5:30 to see my granddaughter. I went for a walk with my granddaughter. And when I came back, I came in and I checked and nothing had happened. So I've been outside with my neighbour and had a couple of cans of cider. And then I came in. I'm bloody, 10 o'clock at night, it's released. I mean, press day tomorrow, mate, so I guess it's...
Yeah, makes sense, Chris.
Tomorrow. Look, earlier on, he did go into our... I don't know if I think I kept it, actually. Let me just have a look. What are your initial thoughts, mate?
I'm quite happy, Chris, to be honest. I mean, maybe a lot of that is just the lethargic nature of how long this whole managerial appointment process has taken. But, it's been nice to hear this week, different sorts of rumours rather than roles holding things up or we're not entirely sure. To hear the opposite of that, of a guy going, I want to pay my own, money to come to Leicester. I want to be here. I want to make a difference. I think that change in narrative has been quite uplifting. And we were saying this earlier. I mean, go back and check this show from this morning. We did about 10 hours ago at another point, guys. But he was high on both of our lists, wasn't he? Actually,
well, it's there, mate. It's there.
It is, Chris. Where did you place him in your top 10?
Oh, in our top 10, we didn't do a graphic for that, but we did actually do this about how excited we were by all the candidates, and we had it as being from full-on Stiffy, midweek semi, pass the Viagra, sooner do the mother-in-law, and take me to the graveyard. O'Neill, definitely Gray at O'Neill. Hi, Jeff, how you doing?
Hey,
Jeff, a notification bell just woke me up at 5:19 a.m. But look, as you can see there, we actually both had Cifuentes as full on.
Yes.
What
We can say it now, Chris. It's past the watershed, mate. We can now go mad on this, can't we? But
Yes, we can. But then at the end, we actually put them in order. And look, we both said we wanted Terzic. You had Rossignol as your number 2. I had Roll. But we both said our number 2s and number 3s it was like well, I would have had second equal, but you wouldn't let me. We both had how do you pronounce it? Cifuentes?
I'm going to say Cifuentes. I might be incorrect, but when the way he pronounces it, Chris, obviously is with a Spanish accent, but I can't really do that without getting some dodgy comments. No. So I'm going to go with Cifuentes, but I might be wrong. I must confess. Yeah, Cifuentes.
Well, we both had him in third. I asked this. I think I asked this of you earlier, so I'll ask I'll ask it of you again. Cifuentes now, or Roll in maybe 7-10 days' time?
Well, I'm not going to flip and flop on my answer here, Chris. Cifuentes now, exactly the same as I said earlier, right? Because, it's been such a delay to get to this process. I just think we need to crack on, And that's why the questions about, is it time to give it to Andy King and maybe get someone alongside him, was coming out as well, because I think a lot of the fan base was at this point as well, weren't they, after the game on Saturday? It's kind of like it either has to happen now, or we kind of got to maybe go with Kingy or whatever, because we need to crack on. I mean, it's the 9th of July, Chris. It's under a month until the season is going to be underway. We've got a fixture coming up this weekend on the 12th, I believe, haven't we, against, Leuven. So we need to get cracking. So I'm delighted, mate, that we're here tonight actually to get this done, to be honest.
Gray said he's actually our first Spanish manager. Wow.
Brilliant.
Let's be honest with you, Spanish managers, it's not bad football at the moment, Spain, is it? But let's read this out. This was what Rob Dorset posted on Sky News earlier. Cifuentes agrees to become new Leicester boss. Marti Cifuentes has verbally agreed a deal to become Leicester City's new head coach. Further talks between Leicester bosses and the Spanish coach progressed well on Wednesday. Sky Sports News has been told, and Cifuentes could be confirmed in the role before the weekend. Final details of his contract are now being worked on, as well as legal details regarding his compensation package with QPR. As Sky Sports News reported on Tuesday, Cifuentes is prepared to hand back up to £500,000 it was due in solidarity payments after QPR put him on gardening leave. So he's not actually paying his compensate, his fee for being we got 10 million for Enzo. So it's not actually that. It's prepared to hand back up to £500,000 that he was paid on gardening leave. So I'm excited. I am excited by it.
I am. And there was one thing that got pointed out to me earlier, because there was a chap I was having a bit of a discussion with on the LTID Facebook group. So obviously, guys, please join if you haven't. And he did raise a good point. I mean, I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff he said, but that's life, isn't it? We don't all agree with each other. But one of the things he did said is interesting that actually did go over my head. Don't forget, he is the guy who was in charge when we beat QPR 6-2. Because, of course, we didn't score many goals last season, but that was the one game we did. It was the one where FaZe obviously had that.
He was also in charge the season before, when they beat us under Enzo.
Well, this is true, exactly, Chris. So it shows you it's a one-game sample size, that isn't it? So it's probably nothing to worry about. But like I mentioned earlier briefly, I've seen his tactical masterclass video, which are some of the best you can find on YouTube when it comes to understanding how managers think and their thought process. And I like the way he thinks, and I think that is something that's very important right now, because I don't think I like the way Ruud van Nistelrooy transitioned from his thought process to what we saw. So I think we're definitely going to see more success in regard to that, at least, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to get some details up here. Gray is absolutely pleased with it. And he smashed Leeds 4-0, which meant we got promoted, of course.
This is true. I mean, there's something about that QPR team where, like, if they were on it, they were actually a very difficult team to play, and they played quite an aggressive style of football. But of course, when they got caught out by us, they did get caught out, right? So hopefully, we'll see a bit more of a balance in that. But realistically, I think our best chance of actually doing anything this year is going to be being on the front foot. I said this earlier. So if we do want to consider ourselves being in the playoffs or an automatic promotion spot, we probably need a manager of this sort of mould, and rather than maybe the Dyches rumours and all the rest of it, the O'Neills, which would be a disaster as far as me and you are concerned in particular. So, no, I am happy to be sat here, and I'm happy to see what he brings to the table. He's quite likeable.
Yeah, I mean, I am, look, you know, it's getting complicated with Danny Roll. And I'm, you know, how, again, we waited for Graham Potter, and it, you know, it's kind of like, for God's sake, you know, move on. And I think this time they've moved on very early. You know, he's probably, well, they're saying he's going back to Sheffield Wednesday now. He's certainly going back to training, but that's on the promise that they might be selling the club. You know, how, you know, we can't wait, can we? We can't wait. And he could have forced a move if he really wanted to.
Well, this is true, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, mate. If you want it enough, you'll make it happen, won't you? And the irony is that Cifuentes has shown he wants it enough. And I was in a position as a Leicester fan, and I'm sure a lot of us have felt like this, especially with the ownership, which feels like it hasn't particularly been overly bothered to get a race on here to get us to this point. I wanted someone to care. I wanted someone to want it. I wanted someone to be, you know, willing to step forward. I want someone to take responsibility, Chris. I want someone to go, I'm willing to be the man who's going to come and do it. But it's interesting to see. I mean, chat, get your thoughts out there. What do you think? So I think it will still not be entirely well received by the fan base. Don't get me wrong.
Talking of that, no, I don't think it will. And I'm just going to say this to Gray.
No. Oh, no.
I mean, that was a bad joke, mate. But look, no,
I thought you read it right there. Yeah, roll the dice. Sorry, went.
Yeah. But look, Kevin's put here, dear, oh dear, cheap and cheerful, that's us. I do not think it is cheap and cheerful. And I actually put a text out earlier, oh, sorry, 1 second.
Sorry, while you find it, mate, I'll just say I can understand that thought process, don't get me wrong. And actually, I don't disagree with what Kevin's got to say there, because that has no doubt been a part of the reason he has been signed, because he is cheap. We can't discount that. That is a logical fact because of everything we're hearing. I just think, from my perspective, that it's a bit of a coincidence he's cheap, actually, because of QPR's situation, luckily for us. In some ways, this is the most lucky we can get of a cheap appointment of all the ones available. I mean, once again, I mean, we talked about it earlier, but O'Neill, whatever, he was available for no money. They want to demand more wages than him, Chris. So actually, he's probably going to be cheaper than them as well, in a good way in that regard. But anyway, back to your post.
Jeff has just put, Forest disappointed Chris will not be buying that shirt now. Well, it's half the shirt sale, doesn't it? But look, I put up about Marti Cifuentes getting the job, or being sort of in the bowl. And everybody, or a lot of people were saying, well, let me read this. This is my reply to them that I posted. I think you saw it. I think you liked it. What's up with LCFC fans? Complaining that the club was taking too long to replace Ruud van Nistelrooy. Now with Marti Cifuentes linked, we get posts like, and these were copied, what's wrong with Top and Rudkin rushing an appointment, for fuck's sake? And if it is him, not so sure another rushed panic appointment. What do we have to do to please these bloody fans?
Well, it's difficult, Chris, isn't it? Because the problem is, it's not actually the managerial appointment, I believe, that's causing all this problem. I think it is because we are deeply worried by the ownership still. And there is a degree of separation we need to retain between the two, if you see what I mean. I mean, I'm parking some of my ownership worries to the side with this, and believing more in the positivity of what this individual is going to bring. But I am relieved they've actually got on with it finally, because I was actually that concerned they'd actually, in some ways, lowered my expectations, Chris. Do you know what I mean? To the point where I thought we're in such a mess, we won't even get someone who's got a 50% chance of making something good happen. I think Cifuentes has got a good opportunity to make something happen. QPR fans speak glowingly about him, don't they? They really liked him.
Well, they were dead and buried under Ainsworth before, and they loved Ainsworth because he was an ex-player. But so he saved them, and he got them into a decent position this year.
Yeah, well, that's it exactly, and I mean, like, it's a disaster for QPR now. And ironically, Chris, the good thing you can also argue as well is we've probably done a bit of a Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United top 6 Premier League move to the Championship here by making one team weaker below us, which means we hopefully have one more team behind us in the table, right? It's like when you steal, like, Leicester players when you're Chelsea, right? Like Kante back in the day, sorry. It keeps other teams weaker as well. So I think there is a little bit of that, and like I say, mate, I think he's quite likable. I mean, I would say, I hope people who are making things, comments like this is deeply worrying, which I get. I'm deeply worried about the club in general, mate. I really am. Make sure you've done, your research. I'm not saying you haven't, but make sure you've gone out and seen what he's about and seen what people have to say about him, because he comes across to me like someone we could really grow with as well. And he's, which I really like about him.
Yeah. Gray says, what does Brad think? I don't know, mate. He's having a shagging his girlfriend night tonight. I mean, she's staying over. So I don't think he probably doesn't even know that this has happened, probably.
This is where she turns up in the chat, probably, and we will prove him wrong.
His head is in a different place, I'm guessing, and I don't think any of us particularly want to know where that place is. James says, drain the swamp, Marty, hoping he sells all those lazy, useless bastards for the economy, lads. Totally. Yeah, well, I think we're all jealous. But look, this is Marti Cifuentes. Look, he came out of the blue. We didn't even have odds for him because everybody uses different betting places, and as we always say, don't gamble. It's not the answer. If you are having money problems, when the fun stops. But I use TalkSport Bet because I'm associated with TalkSport, as everybody knows.
Yeah. And
they, as soon as this news about Cifuentes came out, excuse me, my cider's coming back now, then they suspended betting, so that kind of said a lot. Look, running through there, current club none, previous club QPR, Hammerby, Alberg, Sandefjord. Average term as manager 1.1 year, age 43. Preferred formation, look, 4-2-3-1, so we've not got a 4-4-2 or anything like that. And his win percentages aren't bad either. I mean, I think he's a pretty decent signing.
Yeah, and I think as well, the interesting thing is that when I saw what he was talking about, what he does tactically, he's got a bit of the Enzo about him, not to worry people too much. But what I mean is I don't think he's going to set up like Enzo, but he can do things like Enzo as well. So I think we've got that ability as well, where he'll play an inverted fullback, for example, if he needs to give an extra man. He understands about doubling up on people, and he seems very, very assertive and certain about what he wants, which is what we need in a manager right now. Evening, Wayne, by the way. Hello, mate. Good to see you.
Guys.
Wayne, your thoughts, sir? I know you've got to be up early, so I do appreciate you coming on.
No worries, mate. Yeah, really excited, Chris. I did still want Danny Roll because I think he's probably more attack-minded. And whether I think Cifuentes is quite like Enzo, isn't it? Which is okay, but I just think Roll might have been more hybrid and more attack-minded. But yeah, really excited, Chris. And after all the manager shenanigans and all the rumours, it's nice to get this done. But it does sound like he'll use the youth as well, which is really what we all want as well. So brilliant, mate, brilliant.
Yeah. Look, I mean, he's got here his preferred formation 4-2-3-1. Gray says there he plays a 5 with wing backs. I will go with you on that, Gray. I don't know.
He does as well.
Does he? Right. So he's actually got a plan B. So there we go. I've got to say, I'm looking. His first job was the under-19 manager at Sabadell before becoming assistant manager. He was the manager of the Ajax youth, Wayne. That's not bad, is it? But then again, you take one bit of good news with one bit of bad news. Is that Millwall youth? He was also manager of.
That's where he got his toughness from, Chris. We need a bit of toughness in this division, so we'll take that.
LCFC youth coach, UE Ruby youth coach, AIK youth manager, AIK under-19 manager before he went on. So he's has dealt with youngsters, hasn't he?
Yeah,
Who are we going to? Yeah, that's Wayne.
Sorry, that was the Wayne. Sorry. Wayne.
Yeah, he has, and that, you know, all the great clubs, they promote from within, from the youth setup, because they're all playing the same system. So, you know, for him to be in tune with the young kids, and like we said with Roll, I just think any manager of that younger ilk that wants to play a press, you know, and quick football, but also technical football, I think, you know, I mean, look at the academy, and he must have looked at that game and think, fantastic, oh my God, what a club. What could I do with Leicester City?
And that's exactly what we've wanted, isn't it, boys? And we want someone to look at us and go, we want you to be our first choice. You know, that's what we've really wanted. We've not had a lot of that, have we, Chris?
No. I mean, Jeff said there, hope he utilises Andy King, as I see Andy as a future Leicester manager. We've all said that. We said that in the show earlier, didn't we, Tom? I'm glad Andy King hasn't got it, because I don't think he's ready for it yet, and I think we'd have all ended up hating him because we were losing games. Possibly, I don't know. But I think that if Marty comes in, he does a Claudio, and he has a two assistant managers like Claudio did. He kept Craig Shakespeare on, and then Craig Shakespeare could tell him about the players, which he didn't know. So I'm hoping that he'll keep Kingy on from that, and then Kingy can go on. Maybe if Cifuentes at some point moves on, Andy King can take over.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, isn't it? I mean, I think it's probably part of the deal for Leicester, isn't it? I think that's probably what the role situation might have been held up by as well, because, you know, he was very apparent that he wanted at Sheffield Wednesday to have his way with the coaches, and some of them were there that he didn't want. Maybe that was a sticking point in negotiations, which, you know, maybe meant we dodged a bullet. Because I know one thing, I wouldn't particularly want Andy King to lose his job right now. I don't think that's particularly right in the circumstances of how good he's been for the football club. And like Mike Stow was for many years for us, you know, we need a stable pair of hands somewhere. And in some clubs, you don't need that, Chris. But the reality is, it's our ownership right now. Sorry to be that negative again about them, but to have someone in the club who we know cares about it, like Andy King, to stabilise the ship in the background as well, and to work with someone like Cifuentes with all this experience, all this knowledge. I'm really excited by that, and I'm hoping that, you know, it's going to be a good fit wherever he ends up. Even if Andy goes back to just, you know, looking after the under-23s or, you know, whatever it is, you know, and having a part of it. And I'm fair. I mean, we don't know, but I'm fairly confident that's going to be the case by this appointment.
Wayne, I mean, Andy King, he shouldn't go back to the under-23s or under-21s or kids or whatever, because he's worked with them, and they are going to be a big part, I believe, of our plans next season. So we should keep him on, and keep him on as part of the main coaching staff, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I think so, Chris. And it's interesting. So a lot of fans have been sort of critical of the board for sort of not making a decision. Probably when it all comes out, it'll be down to PSR and certain rules. But, you know, they've interviewed managers that none of us wanted. But, you know, you can't just interview, even if you really want one person, you wouldn't just interview one person for the post. If you're serious about developing your business, you've got to do due diligence. And you've got to, maybe the thing is as well, the board like interviewed some of these older style managers just really to confirm, well, yeah, you know, they've not really come out with anything that have excited us. They've certainly, from our interviews, we're no way confident that they will play the youth. Maybe just it was an exercise in confirming that they do need to go the younger manager. And with Andy King, they might have even asked Andy King, saying, "Look, what kind of manager would you like to work with? So if we got this style of manager, if we got this style of manager, would you like to? Do you think you could work with him?"
Yeah.
And it seems like, although fans have been frustrated, that they've come up with a brilliant decision.
Reese and Clibbo, welcome along, mate. Doing the rounds tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. It's very late. And I know, funny enough, like I said earlier, because I did pop up on Jack's channel, and great for Jack for allegedly breaking the news, but I think Tom will confirm that I actually broke this yesterday, didn't I?
You did accidentally, Chris, yeah, because you set up a video that was meant to be private on this YouTube channel. And I noted you this morning. You've announced that Cifuentes is probably going to join at 5 minutes to midnight tonight because I spotted it and everyone else could as well. Did anyone else see that? Like, he'd had a video saying it's
no one else has said anything to me, no. But no, I should have let you know, shouldn't I?
Just brilliant, Chris. Honestly, Fawlty Towers-esque, Basil Fawlty-esque work. I really love it, mate. Wonderful job.
So yeah, maybe I knew something. We'll leave it at that. Reese, happy?
Yeah, very happy, especially with all the stuff I found out about him yesterday. I was very, very excited with what I've read. I think it fits the profile of what the players that we've got. I believe he's a very ambitious man, and I believe he's the right sort of character that these group of players need, and someone to bring that. Johan Cruyff saw football to the King Power Stadium. So I'm very, very, very excited.
Clibbo, I've got to say, and I mentioned this earlier to Tom, a lot of fans, or I say a lot, that's probably being unfair, but a few fans were saying this is a rush decision. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel. We've gone for cheap again. How the hell can this be a rush decision when it's been how many weeks since we sacked Ruud van Nistelrooy and how many weeks since the season ended? There's no way you can say that this was a rush decision, can you?
No, I think the amount of time that's lapsed, I think there's plenty of time to have done due diligence, and to say that it's rushed, I think is a stretch at best. Me personally, I would rather it been another week as long as we got the right man. And I believe, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, the little bit of research that I've done and the lot of research that I've nicked off Reese, to be fair, I think that it's important, given the amount of young players that we've got in our squad, on the verge of signing contracts, I think this pushes it along a little bit further. And I'm really pleased that the fans will get to see a faster version of Enzo Ball. Maybe not have got the same quality of squad, but I tell you what, if he's true to his word, he'll develop them into as good a squad. In my opinion.
I just say something I have definitely outdone with Jackie's, and that's getting a picture of Cifuentes in a Leicester top.
Oh.
Don't ask me how I did that. Don't ask me how I did that.
Did you get AI to do it for you, Chris?
I'm not saying a word.
Okay,
I'm not. No, I gave Marti a ring earlier. I said, Marti, can you pose for me in a top? He said, I've just bought one, Chris, for you. I'll do anything. Yeah.
I love the training.
A new top.
Yeah, well, yeah. At least, as Gray said earlier, I don't have to buy a Nottingham Forest top now.
Lucky boy. Lucky boy.
Thank you. Tom, no, I love a good conspiracy theory. So let me put this to you. Top has been talking to Marti Cifuentes for quite a few weeks now. The O'Neill, the Danny Roll, that was all just a fake news to put us off the scent, because no way was this guy ever in the running in the betting odds. Or am I giving them a bit too much brains there to do that sort of thing?
I'm going to give you two answers here, Chris, a comedy one and a serious one. The comedy one is going to be very simple, and that is that if we were as clever as Man City, he would have intentionally done this and put a lot of money on these people and then cashed out at certain points and stuff like that in order to bring money into the football club. Basically pulling a Man City, I'm not going to call it fraud.
Can we just say allegedly?
Allegedly, yeah. So I'm saying this is a joke as well. So like when I put something on Facebook about any prime ministers or politicians, you don't want police turning up at your door. It's a joke, right? Okay, so chill out, everyone. But anyway, my serious answer to that is no, it's definitely not the case. I mean, what Top's been doing is he's been off playing polo in Thailand or whatever it is, and taking some time away from the club. He obviously needed it. I mean, it's not what we need as a fan base. That's why we've suggested we probably need someone else running the show. Perhaps he's going to be there a bit more, but they've come back now and gone, we're interviewing this week, as I think we've heard. They've interviewed him and liked him, and I think it's as simple as that, Chris. But I don't think there's been any long-term real thought, going back past a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably be announced by the club tomorrow because it's press day. He's not. I don't think he's going to be in charge for the OH Leuven game at the weekend, and I think that'll probably be two teams, one each half as well anyway. But I don't think he should be in charge. I think Andy King should be in charge. That's Andy Charge's older brother. He should be in charge, and he should just be there watching and taking notes. And the first thing he should be doing is having a conversation with Andy King and saying, "Tell me about these players."
Yeah, definitely. And one thing with the pre-match and post-match interviews, Andy King is an excellent communicator. I mean, head and shoulders way above Ruud van Nistelrooy in being concise. In that 2.5 minute post-match interview, the amount of detail he said about the different players, the attitude, what he explained to them, communicated. It's going to be interesting to see what conversation they've had with Cifuentes and Andy King about whether they're going to work together or how closely or what relationship they will have, whether Andy King will stay in this position as number 2. But what a great combination that would be. Yeah. And I think it's kudos to the club. I know, because I suggested to you, let's do something on what the club have actually done right in the last few years, rather than everybody saying the crap and they've gone off the boil. But you've got King in his position, and what's King done? Brilliant. Look at all the kids coming from Seagrave, brilliant. Signing this manager, brilliant. Monga new deal, brilliant. All these things are really positive. I know there's negatives.
For anybody playing a match bingo, you've just got Monga in there, in case you missed it.
But that was such an important deal, and we've got a lot of really good things happen like that.
Yeah. It's all right. It's a private joke between me and Wayne, and Tom knows it. So he loves a bit of chat about Monga. Reese, have you seen? There's a video, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet because actually I was out today. But there was a video, I think, on YouTube with Cifuentes doing his masterclass.
Oh, the coach's voice.
That's it.
Yeah. I was very impressed when I watched that. I have to say, the way he described his tactics for nullifying Leeds when he beat them 4-0 to help us get promoted. Thank you very much, Marty. I was very impressed with his tactics, how he dealt with Leeds' pressing and their attacking fullbacks and their wingers as well. So that was very encouraging to see. I liked how he was describing how to attack a mid-block. So he's got different ways of playing. Obviously, he has got his preferred style, which is the possession-based high pressing. But as you've seen, as we've all seen, he beat us 2-1 in the 23-24 season. And he did that by I'm doing whatever it takes to win this football match. And he brought on a 6-foot lump to nullify Mavididi on that right-hand side and to stop our threat. And like I say, he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. Like I say, he has his preferred style, of course, but he is a very adaptable, and that is what I think will help our fans get on board. You won't always see the tippy-tappy stuff. You won't always see the, all the nicey triangle diamond passing. You will see a more pragmatic approach to a certain type of game, and I think that's what will help get the fans on board. He can change it up.
Gray says, I want the new shirt. Have we got one? Apparently, they're just trying to talk the sponsorship out, Gray. Apparently, our new sponsor is going to be Viagra. Because they hope that'll help us go up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was awful. You may well. I don't blame you going, Reese. That was bloody awful. Clibbo, I don't want to sort of piss on the party here, Clibbo, but he was also in charge of, as Tom said earlier, he's also in charge of the QPR side that got beaten 6-2 by a Ruud van Nistelrooy Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, you add, if you look at the difference in the squads, I mean, you've only got to look at, just take the Premier League in general and the Championship in general. The standard is massively different than when the Premier League started and the Championship then. It's just going like that year on year. And I think the squad depth and the talent within those two sides was evident. I'd say what they scored 2 reasonably good goals against us. We had, I mean, look, we didn't have a great Premier League squad, but it was way better than their team, way better than their team, and we should have stuffed them 6-2. But you have to say, if he was working with that squad, you know, he would probably be stuffing quite a few other teams 6-2, if you ask me. I mean, I think the exciting thing is, like, we're all sort of trying to pick from players, and we're still picking players from last season. You know, when we're going through our team, at what team would you pick, and with his preferred system, we're all going, oh, we'd play, you know, Ricky P on the right and possibly JJ on the left. If you take them players away, we've still got players that are first teamers in the Championship. I think it's really exciting. I want to see Woyo playing.
Yeah, I think we all do. If he stays, I mean, he may want to go after the way he's been treated. Tom, I'm going to go around. This is going to be the same question to all of you, but we'll start with Tom here. What do you want to see from Marti Cifuentes? What do you want him to be the first thing that he does when he comes in?
I want to be honest, Chris. I want to see him go. This is going to cause some problems, but I'm going to say it. I want him to go back to more of the best parts of the Enzo game, and I tell you why. Because it is realistically our best chance of getting out of this division. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to impress everyone that. But like I said earlier, there's 2 ways you get out of this division. You do what we did with Enzo, or you do what Scott Parker and company did with Burnley. You're either really defensive with conceding 20 goals a year and winning 1-0, or you get on teams like Arash and you really try and, you know, press them high, and then you try and game manage. And I think he's got that about him. So I think actually it's probably the appointment that gives us the best success, potential success. So the first thing I want to see, Chris, is Leicester going from what Andy King's got them as now and just taking it further and just becoming more aggressive. That's what I want to see.
Wayne?
Yeah, similar to Tom, really. It's the fact that Enzo's criticism came from the fact that he did get out-tacticked by Marti Cifuentes and other managers in the Championship. So we played the ball too slow to break people down, and you know, you just can't pass through 2 blocks with 4 and 5. Even Man City can't do it. They struggle to do it, and then they moan that people are being negative when their squad costs 10 times the opposition they're playing. So yeah, I would hope that he. I was wanting a manager that would kind of play possession-based football, but play the high press, and also sort of tactically change things within the match. Because that's the difference. That I don't think Enzo, if he would have played the system with the players we've got, I think would have got relegated this season anyway. Whereas with one of these different kind of managers, if they are adaptable, like Reece says, and Tom and Clibbo, then that bodes well for probably getting promoted and actually being able to stay in the Premier League. Because can a team do that? You know.
Oh, we'll find out, hopefully. Reece, what do you want the first thing for Marti to do?
I'd like to see some authority from him and say, this is the way we're going to play. This is what we're going to do. And you're either with me or you're not. Whoever doesn't want to come with me, there's the door straight away. He's a man that does command respect, obviously given his his past profile with going to the Johan Cruyff Academy and learning about the great Johan Cruyff style of football and stuff. But I also think that, like, I do think that Leicester fans, we're going to get as close to a package as like what we all could love. So I spoke about this yesterday. I think we've got a bit of a divide with the older generation and the younger generation about football in general. The younger generation want to see that style of football, the tippy-tappy passing. I do. I love it. I personally love that sort of stuff.
He's having to go at us again, Clibbo. We'll get rid of him.
You're a cheeky sod, you are.
Yeah, you called me old yesterday.
No. Can you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So you got like the younger generation that want to see the expansive football. They want to see the passing, the lovely goals. But the older generation would like to see, like, you know, just win at all costs. And I think he's the manager that can bring both of those qualities. So I think he's the man to kind of galvanise the fans, and we can both sets of generations can enjoy the football with what he'll bring to the table. So that's what I'm hoping he can do with the fan base, especially.
Clibbo, one of the first things that you want Marty to do?
Well, in my head, when you first brought this question up, I had like a real technical answer, but the honest answer is convince Bilal to stay.
Yeah,
because we'll destroy that league with that top three.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Yes. Do you think, Clibbo, and that was actually leads me very nicely on. I might as well stick with you for this next question. When Enzo came in, there was a lot of players who wanted to leave, and he convinced those players to stay. Do you think that's something that Cifuentes can do?
I absolutely do, and it's something I spoke about when I first came on. That includes some of the really, really promising young players. I'm not being funny, but if O'Neill comes in or Wilder comes in, it may if they're on a knife edge of 50-50, it may be that factor, you know. And we have seen very talented youngsters not making the right decisions and ending up at Colville. You know, nothing wrong with Colville, but you know, if your aspirations are to play in the Premier League one day.
Anybody's watching from Colville, by the way, Clibbo is not speaking for Leicester till I die. We love Colville.
No, I'm just saying. You know, I've been to watch Colville Town a few times. You know, the thing is, these are the decisions at such a young age that can make or break your career. And I think he's the type of man that will identify a player that will be an asset to the club and get him to sign. Whereas a Chris Wilder or if you sign a 3-year deal and you think, well, I'm not maybe going to be on the bench here, I might be play the odd cup game, but actually, you know, watching the game at Peterborough, there are players there that maybe with a little bit of sort of coaxing into the, you know, bringing them in gradually throughout the season will be extremely good championship players or players that can develop further in the Premier League, whether it be in the squad or the first team. I think it's a really important appointment for that, and I think that needs to be really sort of emphasised.
Agreed.
Tom, do you think, because let's go down the Manny road here, and I didn't know, I wasn't in when the news was first broke, so I don't know his thoughts on this, but he was always wanting, his position was that he wanted to pick a manager that played a certain style, and that if he ever left us, we would then have the next manager playing the same style. So choose the style and then get the manager to fit that style. And yes, I get it, because, you know, you had your Enzo to Steve Cooper was a completely, you know, A to Z with the style of football. Do you think this is an appointment that placates fans that wanted that?
Yeah, I think possibly. I think the interesting thing about this appointment is, Chris, and this is the sort of comment that you can clip and it can bite me in the arse about a year down the line from now, but it almost feels like a little bit we could repeat history with Enzo, except have the follow through this time in the best case scenario. So we might be able to get ourselves, and like Clibbo rightly said, if we can keep El Canouse, because if we don't keep him in attacking mid, we're going to have a problem potentially attacking mid generally, I think. So it'll be quite nice to keep hold of him. And he's a sort of manager that probably will persuade him to stay. I would like to see, like, you know, what the outcome of that would have been that we didn't get because of the Chelsea situation, obviously, because all we know is we switched from one side to the other. So I think that is important. But go back to what you were actually saying. You know, yeah, I think it's important now that whatever style we go with here, if something does go wrong this season, I'm not going to be particularly happy to see maybe a Dyche come in. But then I guess maybe, Chris, I'm talking myself out of it because it's context, isn't it? If we're bottom of the league and it doesn't work, then you need a bit of solidity, perhaps, don't you? I mean, you put me on the spot, and I've been on stream for 4 hours before this, so I'm a little bit fried. But yeah, no, I think it's a majority, I would say, more of the Manny direction, which is what Brighton do nowadays, isn't it? When De Zerbi went, they replaced him with someone in the same style. The only problem is that we just know our football club isn't capable of that, and that's what disappoints us all, right?
Now, I'm going to have to say so.
I think King is key to this. I think he will work very closely under Marti, and I think he will be what we've all been asking for. Basically, look what you just said, Tom, is, you know, that conveyor belt, that style that Brighton have used, and I think this could be, you know, I'm not saying that going to the Championship could turn out to be a good thing because it's terrible in terms of finances, but it may be a bit of pain for a lot of gain if we get this right. Maybe.
I have to say, first of all, Tom, was that a yes or a no to the? I mean, you very much went down Wayne's World there, didn't you, with your answer?
Chris, it was like a 75% yes, but in the back of my mind, I went, let's not forget, we've just spent the last year playing some of the most turgid attacking football I've ever seen, and what happened to Luton. So you never know. And we're Leicester City, mate. I mean, for some reason, out of all the football clubs in England, if there's someone that's going to go from one extreme to the other, it's always us. That's why our fan base, and I'm not just saying that about our fan base because I'm part of it and I feel it very well, end up in a bit of a mess sometimes.
I am going to change this channel from football to politics, I think. Wayne, have you had a follow through recently?
No, thank goodness. I mean, I've had one episode of hemorrhoids, Chris, but looking at that for 2 weeks.
I've got to say, I had hemorrhoids once. They're a right pain in the arse. Sorry.
There's nothing like only needing to be 5 yards away from a toilet at any one time. It's a wonderful way of living. Not currently, though.
No. Anyway, looking at QPR the last 2 seasons, I mean, he took over, like I say, from Gary Ainsworth when, let's be honest with you, QPR were looking like they were dead and buried. And he managed to get them up to a very respectable 18th with 56 points. And then this last season, let me use my right mouse, that would help. Then this season, just gone, he got them up to 15th, again with 56 points. And that is with a squad which, let's be honest with you, shouldn't hold a candle to ours.
Yeah, I do like managers that get the most out of players.
Yes.
And football's a funny thing. So you got all these Premier League clubs who've got massive stadiums like Man United, the spaff money year after year, just making bad decisions because it's a crazy situation. When you get to thinking you've got plenty of money, it's the human condition. People get really careless with the money they've got. Whereas when you've got limited money, you're resourceful. You really think about. It's like they say, ex-footballers make crap managers because they just walk into jobs. Whereas people who have short-lived careers but then do the badges, do the work, do all the groundwork, end up being really good managers. And so I think Cifuentes is done. He did a brilliant job out of very limited resources. And when you take over a club that's really struggling like that, you know, morale will be really low. So you've got to work on players' confidence, sort of put your arm around them, get them to believe in your system. And I think it's brilliant. And I do think it shows joined up thinking from the club. It might just be that Top, when he appointed, because they said that the rumours are Rudkin wanted Cooper, Top wanted, a different style of manager. So maybe this is Top having learnt his lesson. King is in place as Clipper. So I just think it's a great setup to have a really young, strong management team going right through, and with the young kids, my God, it's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Reese, I want to throw this one at you because Evie Rose has just come in and said, not a very good CV, usual mess at board level. I hope he doesn't be allowed to sign players, then sack him. We have managers. We have managers worth of overplayed players from 2 or 3 managers ago. I mean, I get the point about let's not sack him, let's not do Cooper where we let him spend money and come in, though I don't think there's a lot of money to spend. But what do we say about this not a very good CV? I love his CV.
Yeah, I can understand where the person who made the comment is coming from. On paper, it isn't a great CV. If you look at it on paper, but you got to look at where he's come from. He didn't have a great playing career, so he's had to work and work and work from the bottom to the top to get to where he is now. And if you look at his CV, yes, they're not they're not teams that are big or anything like that, but if you look at progression of clubs, it's going up and up and up, and now you're going from QPR to Leicester City. So that's another step forward in his career. So you got to remember, he's only 42. He's still got a long way to go in the game, and he has got 22 years of coaching experience in the game as well. Yeah. But just going quickly to what Wayne said about he gets the most out of his players. That's another great quality that I like in him, is that he will play to the strength of his players. So he won't play like a certain style of football if he knows he can't do them. So he'll change it up. Like I say, be adaptable. But no, going back to that comment, I understand where the person is, where they're coming from, because on paper it isn't a great CV. But I look more into it, and I think it's quite an impressive CV, especially in his early days, being at Ajax Youth Academy with Johan Cruyff. And learning the proper way about football. So I think, nothing to worry about there. I think when it comes to CV,
Clibbo, I mean, you're sort of my sort of age, probably younger. I'm probably doing you a disservice there, but you remember Martin O'Neill when he joined.
Oh yeah.
What was his CV like? I mean, we got him from Wycombe Wanderers, didn't we? You'd look at that and go, well, look at his CV.
Well, yeah, and I mean, to be fair, the club weren't really. We were that kind of mid-table championship dirge, weren't we? Playing on pitches where, you had sand in the goal. It was a very different time, and even then, the fans were like not happy about it, and I think the Forest connection was a little bit, because he hadn't won he had crap results. I think the Forest connection started to come out and things like that. But you know what? The thing is with Martin O'Neill, I think, and I have to give the guy credit. For me, he started my love again for the club. And you can link it as far back as you like, but the success started under Martin. And he had the strength of character, which I think this guy will have, to say to fans, well, you know what? I'm going to prove you wrong. Prove you wrong. And that's something I don't think Rude may have it eventually, but he had it kicked out of him. And he was never, I wanted him to succeed so bad. But he never looked happy after January, did he? And I think this guy will have a little bit more backbone. I think he will go up to Rudkin and say, I'm not happy about this. What are we going to do about it? So I think there's a lot of positives. Obviously the playing style, playing under that system that he's grown with, that's great. But I think he's got other qualities as well. Man management skills, young players putting their arm around them, dealing with people who like to bring their dogs for a walk on the training field, the other end of the spectrum. And I think that's really important, because if you look at the age group of Leicester City, you've got some pretty old players and some really young players, and not that much in between. So you've got like a generation gap that he can bridge, I think. It's a good age to be a manager, 42. You're just old enough to get the respect from the players and not too young that you just finished football,
I'm just looking here. I'll stick with you, Clive. I'm just looking here at Martin O'Neill. Before he joined Leicester, Norwich manager. I was only there for 10 games. Wickham manager. You wouldn't employ him if you're going on CVs on that, would you?
No, but my point being, at the time we were not in a position to get somebody like Marti. At the time, we were in the position to get somebody who had very little experience, maybe did a really good interview. That's the difference.
Yes, yeah, guys. Look, it's quite late, so if anybody needs to go at all, just let me know. And obviously, I understand. Wayne, you've got to be up early tomorrow.
I could be shooting, mate.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to know your personal problems.
Chris, stay off my personal. Talk about football, Chris.
Yeah. You've got to go and shoot, then you go and shoot, mate. Just be sure to clean up after yourself. But thanks very much for joining.
Leave him alone, you.
Take care, buddy. Thanks for joining.
Take care, mate.
He's got. He knows me by now. If anybody wants to come on, Gray's golfing tomorrow. Wow, Gray. If anybody wants to come on, I have put the link in the chat there. Pop on for 2 minutes and just give us your thoughts before we wrap up. I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking. Hopefully, Tom. Hopefully, we've been upfront and honest with him, which apparently we weren't with Enzo. We weren't with Cooper. Although Cooper, let's be honest with you, actually, in fairness to Cooper, he did have a hell of a budget to spend. But, with Rude, we promised him, we'd have money and he didn't. Then again, when he did spend the money, he never played the bloody player. So I just hope that we are being honest with Marti.
Yeah, 100%, Chris. It's been a big problem in the club. I've accused him of being disingenuous a little bit, actually, which I think is a very bad quality to have in life in general. I think in life, if you're doing that, then you're probably going to end up wearing masks and being in a bad situation. And that's what we ended up with, Rude. He was turning up in press conferences every week wearing a mask to defend himself. But I thought Clibbo said some really good stuff there about Martin O'Neill that I wanted to quickly go back to, you don't mind, as well. But the interesting thing about Martin O'Neill, which he did for Leicester City, was he made the game easy for them. He told you, look, Robbie, you're doing this. Neil, you're doing this. And it was that simple. Last year under Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I said this at the weekend, didn't I, about Sumari with the joke with the cattle prod. Did Ruud van Nistelrooy ever say to him, I want you to go and drive forward? Or did he just trust in these players that they were big players because of their experience and they knew what they were doing? It didn't seem to me he was having quiet words with individuals and saying, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. It seemed to be a whole collective, but no one really bought into it. And I'm hoping with Cifuentes and what we've seen from QPR that he's a bit more like that. He'll stop JJ, for example, and go, JJ, that was great, but this is where you're messing up from last season. That's getting everyone upset. So you need to just do this. Just little tweaks, Chris, and a little bit of positivity to these players as well. I don't think we are far away once we get out of this negative mentality and get out from under this cloud of what has been Ruud van Nistelrooy and generally Leicester City for the last year or so. I think there is a nice way out of this, and I think he's got the sort of character that can bring that to the club. And I think sometimes we're a bit too trusting of these guys, because I think even if we get lumbered with one or two of these players that we want to get rid of, like Vestergaard, for example, if you train him and tell him, I just want you to do this, there is some value there. It's about hiding the bad stuff and making the good stuff better, right? And we seem to have a manager that wanted to play a system for a system's sake over what the individuals were actually capable of doing. And that was a big part of our problem last year. And that's why we got caught with our trousers down, in my opinion. But anyway, pass it back over to you, boss.
No, Reece, thank you. Reece, taking that point on, and I've forgotten what point I was going to make now. My mind's gone bad. But yeah, I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy, he was trying to get a trumpet noise out of a banjo, wasn't he, really, with some of those players. when you look at some of those players, look, we do know, for example, Vestergaard, if you play him the right way, he's a bloody great. He's a decent defender. Look, he was, under Enzo, he could. He could take the ball from his penalty area and pass it up, and it lands on the opposition penalty spot. Is it a case of let's not get rid of anybody and let's see what he thinks when he sees them and has a word with Andy King? I know some of them want to leave anyway.
Well, yeah, just quickly going back to the point, just quickly about the point where I hope we've not lied to him. Well, Alex Crook has tweeted he has been told you have to sell before you have to buy, and he seems to be happy to take the job. Wow. So that would indicate that I don't care. I'm not bothered or anything, which is good. Which is good to hear. So obviously he really wants the job. But no, I completely agree with you, Chris, and that's why Yannick got a second chance with Enzo, because he got banished by two managers in Brendan and Dean Smith. But then he came in and he saw Vestergaard's qualities, which none of us seen, in terms of building the play up to start Enzo's system. He was very, very pivotal for it. And obviously that's why he wanted him to stay on. So, I mean, every player deserves the new manager to come in and say, right, clean slate. I don't care what you've done. Let's have a look. And then I'll judge it for myself. And like I said, we've seen that in past with Enzo, and he's revamped Yannick's career, Harry Winks' career and stuff like that. So I do think you'll see certain players in the system. So I do think Yannick will get a chance because of his passing range. And I think if you give him good protection with the likes of a Coley, Nelson, give him pace around him, I think it can work, especially in that poor. It's a poor league. It's a very poor league in terms of quality. Harry Winks as well. He had a falling out with Rude. But I do think with his passing range and how good he is sitting in the pocket between the midfield and the back three or the back four as a quarterback, I do think he will add some of his qualities to it as well. So, you've always got that, players will look and think, right, we've got this new manager coming in. Let's just see things. Like I say, it's a clean slate for everyone. And in my eyes, I did want Harry Winks out the door, as you well know, Chris. But at the end of the day, let's just see what the new manager comes up with. And if he's not for these players, then he'll look elsewhere.
I do wonder if anybody could get a tune out of Bobby DeCover-Reid and Wout Faes, though, but that's just me. I mean, Clibo, last question. Yeah, he's happy to take the job, knowing that he's got a sell to bring in. Thank you for highlighting that, Reese.
You're welcome.
It's can we get, are we able to get rid of the players that we want to go? So, like, for me, Wout Faes, to I mentioned there, Bobby DeCover-Reid, people want to skip out. Are other clubs going to be coming in and buying those players? Maybe if the players we've got to sell are the Jeremy Mongers, as an example, the Louis Pages, etc., etc.
Well, I'm on record as saying tonight that I don't think we'll get rid of anywhere near the amount of players that people, the names that have been bandied out. And I think in order to get rid of the likes of Ndidi, I think the club have got to eat a bit of humble pie. We couldn't get rid of him for free. If you offered me $3 million for Ndidi, get his wages off, the boy's done great for us. You've got to get rid of him. We're not going to get him £9 million. No one's going to pay £9 million for him. It's not happening. Plus, you've got to pay $9 million and his wages. Now, I wish the boy the best, but I don't want to see him at our club because the likes of Vestergaard and Ndidi will be stifling some exceptional talent. I don't mind Vestergaard maybe being on the bench as cover, but I think the likes of those players, we've got players that can do that job, but maybe have a little bit more pace than Vestergaard. Maybe don't have quite the same passing range as Vestergaard, but they make up for it. They've got pace. I don't want to have a player that you need to carry because he's got no pace. So you've got to be constantly thinking, well, I need to track back all the time. I don't see how that's positive going forward. I think what we need to do is Wout Faes. Yeah.
Can you send me that wig, Chris? I need some more hair now.
It's Sideshow Bob. It's Sideshow
Bob. Some of mine if you want. Look.
Tell you what, I don't know about your Clivo. This bloody itches. I tell you, I've got a whole new liking, respect for my daughters. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Can I just say thank you, Gray, for that £5? That is a generous offer. Thank you very much indeed. It does help the channel. But yeah, as you say, Clivo, I don't think there will be many going because. Yeah, there are. You know, who's going to come in for them? And as somebody said, the wages are a major problem. They definitely are. But we can't just get rid of all those players. We're going to need some experience, aren't we?
Absolutely. I've pondered this, and me and Reese have discussed this. Which ones would you keep? And I've gone round and I've said get rid, and then I've said keep. But I would like to keep JJ based on what I saw against the pre-season game. I thought he commanded and his experience, and he really showed that. So for me, that's an important player. The likes of Deco Dovery, no, he's of no value for me. Ricky P. We're going to lose him on a free next season. I know it, and that's one of the reasons I said needs to go. But you know what? I think he's going to be invaluable to those young boys, and actually, we know what he can do in that league. So he's another one. Cody can go, Vestergaard can go, Faust can go, and Didi can go. As far as I'm concerned, Jordan Ayew in this system probably is not going to be wanted. So a majority of them, I just think you need 2 or 3 really strong characters that know the game, a bit wily, that can draw a foul and slow the game up if it needs to. But other than that, I'd let them kids go take it because they're fearless.
Yes.
Just quickly on what Uncle Clubber was just saying there. You don't have to be in your 30s to have experience. You look at JJ and you look at like the amount of experiences he's had. You know, he's what, 27, 28, something like that. So he's still, you know, he's not over the hill yet. You know, so you don't have to be in your 30s to have majority. That's how footballers have perceived to be. Like you have to be in your 30s to have experience. But we've got players in their mid-20s that have got a lot of experience. Oliver Skipp, experience at Spurs, and he has got experience in the Championship. So, you know, just that sort of example. So you don't have to be in your 30s and your early 30s to have experience.
It's a good point. And it's nice to see you, Mr. Bond.
I was just going to quickly say, can someone please tweet Woot Faze and just ask him if we can get a picture of Chris doing that to Woot before he departs the club?
This is Woot. Let me tell you something. He's got a very good mouth. You know, can I just say, does this testicle look large?
Here, I've got a question.
You don't get this on. You don't let this on the final whistle, do you?
It's smut. No, I've got a quick question before you to ask all of you actually, and it's regarding the Winks situation because I know. The diagonal two here, we're having a discussion about Winks, which wasn't heated, but it was kind of passionate. Now, if this new manager comes in, Chris, and says, I want you to be staying over on match night, and I'm afraid that's the way it goes, like it or lump it. And if he says no, would you still be willing to have him in the team?
For me, and I was always Team Winks on this one. It's Ruud van Nistelrooy, and I'm going to stick with Team Winks because look, he had just had a baby. Well, he hadn't. Obviously, his wife had. They lived local. They're obviously a lot more local, but there was no support network. And look, my son's just had a baby, and you'll know, Clivo, that when you've had kids, that you need that support network around you. All his wife's family were down in Milton Keynes or somewhere down south.
Hereford.
So they wanted to move down there, to be near her support network, which I get. Now, I'm sorry, if when you've just had a baby, if you can't say to the guy, yeah, look, go, it doesn't matter for this time, but, but a couple of weeks, you're all right. I don't mind you doing it. But then I need you back and I need you sleeping, staying over or what have you. Then
my youngest, who's 27 now, same age as Reese, for the first 3 months of her life, I was having to work away. So, and I was on nowhere near the amount of money he was on. So I'm afraid for 1 day a week on the money that they're on, I'm sorry, I can't, no, it's your job. Those kids are going to benefit greatly in a few years' time from that bloke's career for 1 day. I can understand it if it's like 3 or 4 days a week. I get that.
Yeah.
I understand, but not for 1 day. No, can't buy into that.
So you're saying that you get rid of him and he should have stayed. He should have stayed over.
100%.
I can see where Chris is. I can see where Chris is coming from. I get it, family and all of that. But footballing career is all about what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for? Footballers I can't remember the bleeding word. Sacrifices. That's it. Football is all about sacrifices and stuff. You sacrifice a short career to gain the long finances when you retire and when you're in your mid-30s. But I can see where Chris is coming from. Could you come up with a compromise, maybe? Like, all right, maybe for, I don't know, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, Uncle Clibo. I completely agree with you. Could you not come up with, right, for like a month or two, help settle down with the baby and all of that, and then when it's finally settled and she's got all the support she needs, then I can come back and do the 1 day a week. Would you be all right with that, Chris?
No, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said. I mean, let's be honest with you. Legally, he could have come in and said, I want parental leave. Because men get parental. My son's just had a couple of weeks off because he's just had a daughter born. So a footballer is allowed to do that. And how often do we see footballers, he didn't turn up for match day because his wife's just had a baby? I mean, you don't, it's a kid. You don't get those years back again. And I just think it's like, I just think it was being sort of, so what? If he travels up, I will come to you, Tom, in a second. The question that I would also ask as well is, are there other players that are travelling like he was, right? And are they being made to sleep over? I don't know the answer. I'm just asking the question. Tom, sorry, you wanted to make a point.
No, it's just fine, Chris. You got to take your time. It's not a problem. No, my point is just to move it slightly left field from this point, because I understand this argument. I'm actually of the opinion in this case he probably, I get what you were saying. I think he could have been afforded the time. But my problem with it is that I think Ruud picked the wrong battle. Because I think Winks has had a bit of a reputation before this happened, where he was staying at home and he was going out drinking and stuff like this, and he was meeting and he was seeing other fans of other clubs who were seeing him out drinking. So I think Ruud was trying to make a point, but he chose the wrong thing to move a point from, because unfortunately his man management wasn't very good, if you see what I mean. So I think actually he was trying to make a point, but it was probably actually on the wrong thing on this occasion to do it on. But I actually think for Winks as a character, and I mean, it's just from what we see. I mean, it's social media posts and it's all the rest, and it's when people have met him and all the rest of it. I'm not convinced that he is the sort of character that we probably want at our football club. But the main bottom line is, taking it back into the direction of wages, is we need to get rid of some of these players, and we need the club to take accountability and stop running the club to it's literally 107% over its budget all the time, because we are getting in a right mess as a result. So this appointment with Cifuentes, for me, Chris, is a great opportunity to remove the £80,000 earners, and literally he goes in and says, do you want to stay?
If we can get somebody to buy them, who's going to necessarily buy them on £80,000 wages? We may have to let their contracts go down or try and buy them out. Just going back to Winks, whatever. Do you remember James Maddison? He was injured, and I forget who it was, insisted on him turning up. to watch the team, although he wasn't even being picked. He wasn't even in the squad, but he had to turn up. And when he didn't, and then he was out being, playing darts or whatever, everyone was going mad. Well, he was injured, or he wasn't being picked. He wasn't in the squad. He was sent home from the England team. Oh, he didn't stop and play. What? He didn't stop in and watch them on the telly. He went out for a beer. Well, these are human beings. They've got social lives as well. I just think, and this is why I didn't. Sorry, Tom, I'll finish this. This is why I didn't like Rude, because yes, maybe he did pick the wrong battle, but he could have said, "I don't agree with it. I'm going to dock you 2 weeks' wages, or I'm going to drop you out the squad for 2 weeks." We needed Wink's experience. And I think for Ruud van Nistelrooy to be so pig-headed that he loses one of our more experienced, not saying best, but one of our more experienced players, and he's let him, we didn't see him again, did we, after that? And I think that is absolutely Ruud van Nistelrooy's fault. Brendan Rodgers did it with Soyuncu. As soon as John Terry came in, and I'm not going to be honest with you, he knows about defending. His first words were, "What the fuck is that guy doing training with the kids?" and brought him back in. And we suddenly got better in defence. I'm sorry, a manager has to put the club over his own personal feelings. Nigel Pearson, he did not pick Mark Albrighton for all of the season until we started The Great Escape. He then realised that he needed Mark and he needed to change things round, brought Mark in, was big enough to say, "I need you, Mark," or whatever, made up with him or his wife, whoever he'd fallen out with, and brought him in. That is the sign of a good manager, being able to do that. It's not all about the managers, it's about the clubs.
Well, just quickly on, I heard a little rumor from mine and Uncle Clivo's source, and it's a pretty good one, that Soyuncu and Rodgers fell out because apparently Rodgers was talking down to one of the dinner ladies at Seagrave, and Soyuncu didn't like it, so he stepped in, and that was one of the main reasons why he dropped him. Now it's just a rumor, but who was the other one you mentioned? Albrighton. Well, apparently Cambiasso had something to do with that as well, saying you've got to pick this guy, you have to pick this guy. So I think Cambiasso helped Nigel with that as well. So I don't know, it's all speculation. But if what you're saying is true, Chris, then yeah, that is a sign of a good manager.
Yeah, it is. What do you think, Clibo? Come back to me on that, because Pearson was big enough to say it's not about me, it's about the club, where the other managers weren't.
I think it's okay. I think that at management level, you're absolutely right. And, Pearson had to compromise, but compromise is a two-way street. And I think there are a lot of players that are not willing to compromise with the manager. That's ultimately when a manager will get shitty. So we don't know which way around it is really, do we? We're only listening to paper talk. We don't know whether it's... Let's be honest. We don't even know if Ruud walked in there and everybody hated him from the word go. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to manage any situation if you're not liked.
Totally. Tom, do you want to come back on any?
I was just going to quickly validate what Clibo said there, because as you know, Chris, I've been a retail manager, and I've travelled and I've actually retail managed in Canada, and to go into a place in Canada where someone in there also had applied for that job and had to then work for me. And that guy, handled himself really well. But I did have, a discussion with him, and that is not easy as someone who's done it. You can go into places as a manager, and some of the people will look at you and go, "Who's this twat?" To be frank, they'll look at you, they will, of course they will, because they're used to their ways, and in some ways, some people don't want to contribute to that. Football clubs are like any workplace in that regard, and I think it's, the strong manager has the strong principles, and then has good leadership. And then there is obviously that thing of give and take as well. But I think with Ruud van Nistelrooy, there wasn't a lot of that. Or if there was, it was very misguided when he chose to do it, which I think meant, like Rodgers towards the end, he lost the dressing room. And I think a good manager has that. And I think Cifuentes has shown that at QPR, because he brings out the best of individual players. which I think we've screamed out for a football club at a long time. And I think then you create a better culture as a consequence. So, yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well, Chris. And that is something that crosses over into all of our real lives.
The problem is none of us will ever know the truth about what happens between here. If we did, we'd probably all have different thoughts on the outcome. I'm the same as you, Tom. And when I moved down to Bournemouth, where I live now, I'd worked in I worked for newspapers, and I'd worked in newspapers for 20 odd years. And when I actually went down, I was then after a couple of days transferred to the department that I really, really wanted. And the manageress there was half my age and had only been in the business 10 years. And she took me aside and said to me, "Can you work with me?" And I went, "Well, of course I can." She said, "Well, you know, I'm younger than you. I've had a lot less experience than you, and yet I'm now your boss." And I said, "But you've been here longer than me. You've worked for this company longer than me. You know this company more than me. Exactly. How can I couldn't be your boss, could I? You know."
That's exactly, but again, it was the position I had. Yeah, ironically,
it was a good position. But hey, this has taken a right turn, hasn't it?
It's that leader's principle quickly, Chris, of like, you've got to also be open to learn. Like my boss, when I got to this place in Canada, it was quite an ethnically diverse area of Canada where we were working. And there were certain departments I'd never dealt with before, and he said he never dealt with before. You had to ask the people that worked there to kind of get his understanding of it, and then to be able to find the way to lead it. But you're right, we probably have gone slightly off topic here. It's probably my fault a little bit, but it goes back to the point that I think, I keep trying to bring it back to Cifuentes. I think this is the thing about his appointment. I think if you look at any other ones we've been linked with, maybe Dyche would have been a bit like this as well, perhaps, but there's a few examples out there that I think wouldn't have been, like Gary O'Neill, because at Wolves it seemed a bit like that. So there we go. Anyway.
Hang on a second. It's all gone tits up. That was what I wanted to bring up.
That was before I became the manager. Yeah, I decided to earn some more money, guys. Yeah.
If ever we need a new film at Fox, Tom has volunteered for the job. Let me just get everybody back in normally. Last question. I'm going to go around very, very quickly. All of you. We'll start with you, Clibo. One player that you want to really, really Cifuentes to get rid of.
Vestergaard.
Wow.
Oh okay. No,
Fass. Okay.
Fass.
I should take your first answer, but I like you, so I'll take Fass. Fass. Reese.
For financial reasons and for what we need for the squad as a striker, Mads Hermansen.
Right. I get your point there. Tom?
We need the money.
For all we just talked about in the last 10 minutes, I had a quick think then. I was thinking, who can we actually utilise and improve under him? I'm going to say Winks. I want Winks to go. I think he's very expensive, and I think really he'd like to play somewhere else anyway, Chris. He doesn't really want to play for Leicester, does he?
Well, I don't know. As long as we pay his wages. We've got Evie Rose has said Faze. Gray has said Faze. I would normally go Faze. As anybody that follows this channel knows, I am not a Wout Faze fan. I think Wout Faze, while he is at Leicester, is taking up somebody else's oxygen.
Somebody else's oxygen.
Yes, and he should go. He really should. However, for this, I am going to give you a different name. The one player I want out of our club is Bobby De Cova-Reid, because I don't think he brings anything.
I was going to say I forgot him, Chris. I forgot he existed.
The thing is
about him out of my mind. But no, Winks is my answer. Winks is my answer.
The thing is about Bobby De Cova-Reid, he's a bit of a non-entity. So if he's there, he is. If he's not, he's not. Whereas Wout Fass, he's a pain in the arse and a cancer in the club, if you ask me. So getting rid of him does make a massive difference.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let us very, very quickly. Let's ask the audience. Should we get rid of Wout Faze?
Oh, yes.
There you go. There's your answer. Look, you're speaking to the converted when it comes to Wout Faze. I'm just thinking Bobby De Cova-Reid. I just think he's a waste of space. All right, let me switch it round then, Clibbo. One player you think will come into their own next. You know, like when we got Winks and he was brilliant last season, season before last when we were in the Championship. One player you think can be turned around and improved and utilised with the squad.
Well, somebody who's not been very good, you mean, and turned around, or just somebody
like Vestergaard. Who could be? When we went down to the Championship and Enzo did what he did with Vestergaard, what one player would you like to have that effect?
I would like it to be Skip, because we could do with him to be good. So I'm going to say Skip.
Yeah. Okay, Reese.
Woyo.
Oh, good shout. That good shout. Tom, do you want me to read you all the team out before you
Chris,
you answer?
I've had so much trauma from last year, I swear I've forgotten half of them. I mean, there's other names that popped into my head that we haven't mentioned tonight. I'm going to say the one which I think it'll be like Enzo. I think it'll be Vestergaard. Because Vestergaard, unlike Winks, I kind of think when Vestergaard does play and he's focused, he does still put an effort in. There's not a lack of application, but I think Winks sometimes just protects himself and just wants to complete his pass rate, and that's all he really does. He doesn't really bring the ball forward. I mean, look at the game last Saturday. I mean, Page comes on and he just wants to go forward from that position. And at least one of them's taking accountability. So I'm going to go with Vestergaard because I think, he's not really a bad apple as such, I don't think, unlike some other ones I might think,
I'm going to lose everybody's... everyone's going to hate me for saying this. And I might have to hide under the table when I say this.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're going to say Daka?
Oh my fucking God, no! Jesus Christ! I did that as an insult. I mean, no, Daka is past any sort of help whatsoever.
Clibbo, Daka's forgot he's existed, let alone the football club and the fans have.
Yeah. Totally. No. He had his chance when he was in the Championship, and he couldn't do it in the Championship. And I'll never forget his face when he was taken off. I think it was Plymouth away, and he was taken off, and the guy looked like he'd got the weight of the world on his shoulders. And if you can't do it in the Championship, he then still couldn't do it. All right, he didn't get much of a chance in the Premier League because he was only coming on for 10 minutes here and there. But he had plenty of opportunity in the Championship and he didn't do it. The one, although he is Gray's favourite player, Gray will hate me for saying that. The one player that I am going to go for that I would like to see step up and take his position. Please don't hate me. Please don't.
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say.
Go on, get on with it.
Who am I going to say, Clivo?
You're going to say Ayew, aren't you?
I am 100% Jordan Ayew. Now, to me, and I spoke to the Palace fan when we bought him, and I said, what the fuck are we doing buying an OAP on a 2-year contract when the club that he was at would only offer him a 1 year? I know it was even silly because we took over Reed a 3-year contract. If you use Ayew right, I think he could be a great player. He's not a winger, right? He doesn't play. He's shit when he's on the wing. Now that Vardy's gone, play him as that main striker. What he will do for you, he will hold the ball up, and then you'll have Fatawu, hopefully Mavididi and El Khanous, all running forward, and he can play that ball off and hopefully create a lot of trouble. What he will also do for you is when he gets up and gets the ball, he'll fall over and get a free kick.
I made this point, Chris, earlier, and Reece boy shot me down in flames. He said it's not going to work in his system.
No, I stand by what I say about Jordan Ayew. With this manager and with the way he plays, pressing from the front, you're not going to get that from Jordan Ayew. He doesn't fit the profile of this new manager. So that's my only concern. Off the bench, if we're losing or if we're drawing, if we need a goal, yeah, absolutely fine. As a starter, not a chance.
We don't know. We're all guesswork because we don't know how he's going to play.
We are.
£80,000 a week. I think he's about £80,000 a week. Are you 80,000?
Yeah.
What?
That's it. Why buy that player who isn't a winger and then play him on the wing? Why take a guy who's played at left back for about 5 seasons since we bought him and stick him on the right, and then when we buy a right back, never play him? I mean, when he was he got a few goals, AU, and I just think, if we are trying to play, breaking out fast, the ball goes forward, he can hold that ball up. Crystal Palace fan said to me that he will fall over. If you sort of want to break in the game, if you're under a lot of pressure, he'll take the ball, he'll fall over, get you a free kick, and you get that break. In the first game when he came on after we signed him, the first thing he did was fall over and get us a free kick. But I just think, you agree with me, Clever, that I just think, with those 3 behind him coming forward, he can hold that ball up.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both sides. I'm not like trying to sit on the fence or anything, but I was trying to make a case for him, to be honest with you, and in my head I could see it, but then Reece gave me a bit more insight into the new potential new manager's system, and I think that it is all going to be about pace. But then again, I can see him dropping deep, holding it, and people bombing on, because that side is absolutely laced with pace.
Yeah. Thing is, he's only got a year left on his contract, and we have got Dakota Reed for 2 years. So God help us. Look, guys, we're all going to turn into pumpkins in a minute. I didn't know how late it was. Thank you very, very, very much indeed for coming on. It was very, very late, I know, but obviously it was late breaking news. Hopefully it's all going to be announced tomorrow. So just tell me, just convince me. It's not the 1st of April today, is it?
It's not the 1st of April.
Phew. Guys, thank you all very, very much. You get off to bed now, and I hope you're not shooting if you're going to bed like Wayne was. But have a good one. Thank you all very much. We'll speak soon.
Vamos.
Take care.
Vamos.
Cheers.
Cheers, bye-bye.
Oh, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate you coming in. It was very last minute. As I say, Clibbo and Reece have been on Jack's channel earlier, and it is nearly the witching hour. Tom's still with us. Just stay on for a second if you can, Tom. And Tom, 4 hours he was playing with something earlier, with FIFA apparently. Should get Tom as our new manager. Look what happened to Will Still. He can do it, Tom. Get in there. So thank you, Tom, very much as well. Guys, thank you for sticking with us. Smash the like button, subscribe, click the notification bell, share it if you want. Thank you for your kind words, Graham. And again, thank you very much for the donation. It really does mean a lot. If you're listening or watching, on Catch Up, please add your comments in below. Always grateful for those. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, do you know what you can do? Thank you for lending me your ears. I hope you enjoyed listening. Take care, everybody. Well, we'll probably be back tomorrow. Who knows?
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.